Recently, James Rolfe posted a video showing his thoughts on the recent Godzilla film from 2014 after a renewed viewing. Seeing as I'm a thief in the night, I know that I need to steal from the best. Actually, I've been wanting to do this for a while now, but since he's richer, more successful, and smarter than me, it looks like I'm copying him. Oh well. Anyway, I wanted to speak my thoughts about the films. So many people were disappointed by the lack of Godzilla and flatness of characters in the film, but that didn't disappoint me. I expected all that. It's classic Hollywood formula. The hero has to be a big, muscular guy, usually blonde, always in the military, the police, or some other authoritarian role. There's always a hot chick who's also blonde and has big tits. There's some kind of older, more veteran actor to lend credence to the film, and he usually gets killed off about halfway through. There used to be a fat guy who was used for comedy relief. He could tell jokes and just be silly looking, but I noticed they don't really do that anymore. I guess it's part of the dark, realistic, gritty atmosphere they're going for these days. Which is another thing I expected. Watching another summer action popcorn flick that takes itself way too seriously. It's the big aesthetic now, making things all dark, washed out, and gritty. Because I guess that's what people want in a film about giant dinosaurs killing each other. It's kind of like how back in the 60s everything was saturated with color, and in the 80s everything had that ridiculous action-y sense to it. Like I say, I was expecting all this. The main actors getting too many lines so they get their faces out there, long pointless action scenes that don't add to the plot, an overly long climax that the whole movie builds to. These are all the hallmarks of cookie-cutter Hollywood, and even some of the old Godzilla movies did that. They were known as the bad ones. If you followed the interviews and pre-release hype for the film, you probably came across the director and even some of the actors talking about how they wanted to portray human characters well, or something.
Not going to cut it, and that all our favourite films, the ones that have stood the test of time, that we kept referencing in meetings over and over, were really sophisticated, like subtle and beautifully told stories, and we're like, okay, we got to try and we can't settle for good, you know what I mean? Or that's okay. Like we've got to really get this right.
Talk about being a pretentious ass. This is just action schlock. It's not freaking art or anything. Keep your audience in mind, dude. I really think he said that because the studio ordered him to make the humans the main characters in the film. But then, assuming that was his original intent, to have interesting, creative characters, he failed miserably. The characters are cardboard cutouts, bland and uninteresting. If it was some kind of 90-minute explosion fest, like, say, Predator or Commando or whatever, that would be fine. You don't need great characters, just put them through hell and have them come out clean on the other side. But this is a 2-hour movie, and it broods on the characters so much that Godzilla himself gets sidelined to the rest of the film. Just look at the main character. He's an army guy. Why is he an army guy? What was his motivation for joining the military? Why not the Marines, or Air Force, or the Israeli military or something? Is he some kind of special forces guy? I don't know. Why does he like jumping headfirst into danger? What about his wife? Isn't she a nurse or something? Why is she a nurse? Is she a nurse with the army? Why are they married? Is it just because she's hot? If it's just because she's hot, maybe they could explore the nature of a marriage based on something as superficial as looks. Amidst dinosaurs destroying the city. Bryan Cranston's character is a little more fleshed out, and as many people have pointed out was the best part of the film, but was killed off way too soon. Yeah, well, big-time TV actors don't come cheap. There's this Dr. Serizawa guy, named for the scientist in the original Godzilla film, who, again, has little backstory and is just there to exposit stuff. And he's got a British girlfriend for some reason. Why does he have a British girlfriend? I gotta say, when I first started watching the ads for the film, which were very disconnected and showed the film from many different perspectives, combined with Edwards' promise to have well-written characters, I thought it would focus on a jumble of different people and how they were affected by the Godzilla attacks. You know, like a soldier tells his version of events, while a nurse or a doctor recounts the horror of seeing people rushed in a hospital, while the scientists are trying to make heads and tails of the incident, and maybe near the end of the film they team up and do something about the problem. But no, it's a very linear action movie with a bunch of related characters who aren't thrust into danger by some chance of fate. In fact, the monsters seem to be following this family around, like they've sworn a vendetta against them. What are they, the Monster Mafia? Now, I know I've been complaining about this film a lot, but I actually did enjoy a lot of it very much. It does have a good atmosphere, if a bit cliche. I like that they brought some new monsters to the table. The new monsters aren't all that special, but at least they're thinking differently. They kind of remind me of the bugs from Starship Troopers. The constant cutting away from the monster fights got old, sure, but when it gets going, it doesn't let go. I also like how in the final battle, it has a two-pronged ending, where the soldiers are trying to help Godzilla defeat the monster, similar to the old movies. But let me get to the main strength of the film. Whereas Edwards failed to create convincing human characters, the most compelling character in the film is Godzilla himself. Which is fitting, seeing as that's the damn title of the movie. Think about it. Godzilla's got a backstory as almost a legend, prowling the Pacific, constantly being watched by these secret scientist people. Suddenly, these new monsters awaken, and Godzilla hunts them down because it's his natural instinct to do so. The monsters themselves are trying to escape Godzilla and set up shop in Frisco and get a little insect family going. But even so, we know that Godzilla has to destroy them, simply because that's the way it's always been. The laws of nature and of the jungle. There's only one throne for the king to sit on. We even get to see Godzilla think and strategize, making him more than just a mindless killing machine. And the same kind of goes for the insects themselves. It's subtle, but it's there. So, all in all, despite the flaws that Hollywood forced on it, I do like this movie. Inevitably, it would be compared with Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim from the previous year, another callback to classic monster movies. I never felt strongly about Pacific Rim, as I thought it could have been much more creative and interesting than what he did with it. And for the most part, I think Godzilla still succeeded better. This scene alone topped anything in Pacific Rim. You know what it is. Now, I may just be a Godzilla fanboy, but I thought its attempts at being original and its focus on its main subject made it far better than any other offerings that summer. Ultimately, I was very pleased with the film, and I'm looking forward to whatever comes next from America, but most especially, the new film arriving from Japan.